Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the video. Today we're back in the kitchen making something that is fancy, but not so fancy. And I'll get more into what I mean by that in a few minutes. But first, go wash your hands and let's get started on today's dish, sauteed chicken and shrimp pesto over riced cauliflower. All right, now listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, pesto scared the hell out of me. And I don't really know why. I think maybe the two reasons I've come up with is because one, I didn't know what it was. It sounded really complicated. So that goes into like the second reason, which is my ignorance made me think it'd be really hard to make. So I just kind of stayed away from it. And if anybody brought it up, I would say, oh no, I don't like pesto. That's not something I care for. But then I came across a recipe that showed me how to make it, and it was way easier than I thought. I mean, I had used it maybe a couple times in the past, but it had been from the grocery store and in a jar. It was like $7 or something. This makes more than that and costs about half to make. So I think you'll see that this is a nice option. And once you've learned to make pesto, it goes with so many different things. We've had it paired with steak. We've had it on chicken, salmon, lots of different options. Today we're doing it with the chicken and the shrimp pesto that we're gonna have over the rice. But yeah, I mean, you could make this for several different things. So I'm gonna show you how to make a good amount of it. This will keep in an airtight container in the fridge for up to a week. You could freeze it for up to 3 months, never done that, but I've heard other people have put it in like ice cube trays so that they can have small quantities when they need it, so that's an idea. But yeah, so what you'll need for the pesto, and this is obviously gonna be the base of our meal that we're doing today that's gonna really give it its distinct flavor, okay? What you're gonna need is 3 cups of packed basil. Now this is about 4 ounces if you're buying it at the grocery store, which is what I do. I don't have a basil plant in the backyard or anything. Like most people, I go to the store and buy the basil. So that's what we do here. You wanna pack that down and make sure you have enough, but if you buy the 4-ounce bag, that's gonna be a great amount and perfect for this recipe. You wanna pick the leaves off the stems and discard the stems because all we're gonna use today are gonna be the leaves. You're also going to need 4 cloves of garlic peeled. You're gonna need 1 lemon. You're gonna need 3/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, which equates to 12 tablespoons if you measure out like I do. You're gonna need also 3/4 cup of freshly grated parmesan, and then half a teaspoon of salt. And you guys know how it works. If you're baking, measure, measure, measure. If you're cooking, let the Lord kind of guide you, and then you'll be happy with what you come out with because it's all gonna be fine. So we're gonna make this. The prep on the basil and the Parmesan, shredding that, the prep for all the pesto in general ingredients is longer than the process itself. It is not bad, but you will need a food processor. I'm using a small one today. We're gonna see how that goes. I've never made like the larger amount. Usually I make a half of this size. So yeah, we're gonna experience this together. But you're gonna need a food processor and then you're gonna need your container. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna take my food processor, and the first thing we are going to put in is going to be our basil leaves. Now you can do this in several different kind of groups if you need to, if it doesn't all fit in, but they're pretty, weak leaves, so it should not be a huge problem. But we're just gonna stuff these in here. Actually, I might go in 2 groups, just because. All right, so we're gonna put this on, and we're just gonna pulse it. And then we just do the pulse, 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 pulse. All right, and we're gonna get the other group in here, which probably does not want to go in after it just saw what happened to its friends, but we gotta eat. All right, so we're gonna put these in like so. I never even had a food processor until I started really cooking with low carb and making more of our meals. I was always kind of scared of them, but now I love using them. I used to chop everything by hand, and my God, when I think about that now, no. So much easier. The only downside to these is you have to clean them, but no biggie. All right, so this looks pretty good. Yep, This looks about how it should look. There you go. All right. And then everything else except the olive oil goes in next. So we're gonna put in our garlic. We're gonna put in our Parmesan cheese. Lots of that, that's where the good flavor comes from. We're gonna put in our half a teaspoon of salt. There you go. And we're going to put in our juice of 1 lemon. There goes 1/2. I'm gonna squeeze that in. And the other half as well. And then before I go ahead and pulse this again, I'm going to just push down the basil leaves from the side. All right, so everything's looking as it should. Get this cleaned off. And now we are going to pulse once again. Make sure everything gets good and mixed. Looking good so far. Gonna take a quick little break to check on things. And once again, push our basil, now being joined with all the other ingredients down the sides. This is looking exactly how you want it to look. Choppity chop. A little bit more. Perfect. All right, so last step, we are going to take our 3/4 cup olive oil and pour that in. There we go. Perfecto. And one final pulse just to get all of this incorporated. And this is it. This is the entire process for the pesto. All those years being afraid of pesto, lying through my teeth about not liking it so I didn't have to eat it or make it. Feel like a fool now because this is all you need to do. So we're gonna just take this off here. There we go. And pour our pesto into our airtight container. So this is gonna give us what we're gonna need for tonight and then some. I usually save this for the next week and we'll have it with salmon and steak, something like that, you know, like I was mentioning earlier. But this is step one. This is the base. If you've done this, give yourself a thumbs up because this is the hardest part of the whole damn meal. So you have this done, you're good to go. But we're gonna continue to the next steps over on the other side. Okay, so at this point, I need to break in and let you guys know that I had a major cooking, filming faux pas. I use a second phone to record the close-up shots of what I'm making in the pan, such as this one. You will see that the meal is already done, so spoiler alert, this is what that looks like. I forgot to turn it on when I started cooking. So obviously there's no way to put the toothpaste back in this tube. It is what it is. I'm gonna leave the video where it shows me cooking, but you guys know I normally like to get those close-in shots. I'll do the best I can with this camera going forward, but I did wanna show you what it looks like when you're finished as a close-up, and then also when we plate our meal at the end, and you'll see that it's got the beautiful Parmesan. Add a little more just so you can see, and our basil leaves here. So this shows you what the finished product would look like. I totally apologize for my mess up. What can I say? I'm an amateur working with the best he can. So going forward, here's the rest of the recipe, but thank you so much and apologies again. Putting it all together, let's look at the ingredients that are going to be joining the pesto we just made to create our finished meal. We have about a pound of cooked chicken. We have 12 ounces of raw, uncooked shrimp, peeled and deveined. We have about 10 ounces of cherry tomatoes, and we've cut those in half. We have half a stick, calm down, I know, half a stick of butter, but it's spread out over 4 servings. You won't even notice, just settle down. Half a stick of butter. And then we've got some Parmesan cheese for garnish, as well as some leftover basil leaves for garnish. We've got some salt and pepper and some garlic powder. Now, I've also gone ahead and gotten the Cauli rice. I think we've talked about this before. If you want to make your own Cauli rice, more power to you. I think that's great. This is one of those times where you can cheat and no one's gonna know. Just go to the store if you want and buy the frozen Cauli rice. Here in Texas, in neighboring states, if you have an H-E-B, they have a really great house brand that's in the frozen foods, but any grocery store you can find the frozen rice, cauliflower, and just it'll take time off your night, you know, when you're trying to make this. So if you want to do it from scratch and impress yourself and everybody else, go ahead. But if not, frozen is fine. What else do we have? That's it. Oh, and then our pesto that we just made. So obviously we're gonna need a 1/4 cup of that. And that should be it. And you can adjust the amount of the pesto, kind of taste it and see what you think. I would stick with a 1/4 cup at first, but if you like the taste of it, you can always add more a little bit later. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got a large skillet. We're gonna put this over medium-high heat, and we are going to add our butter. So we wanna just go ahead and get this in and let it melt over medium-high heat. Just kind of move that around. We're gonna add our garlic powder to it, but not quite yet because we don't want it to scorch. So we're just gonna get all this butter. I know, again, calm down. It's not as much butter as you think it is. You'll be fine. So we're just gonna move this around here. Oh, and back to what I was saying about how this is fancy, not fancy. So to me, hearing shrimp and chicken pesto over riced cauliflower sounds kind of fancy. And especially if I'm not a cook and I'm not used to cooking, this sounds like the worst thing in the world that I'd want to make. But I gotta tell you, there are a lot of things that are considered staple foods that are simple that I think are much harder to make than this. I've always had a hard time making fried chicken. I can't make fried chicken to save my life. It's the worst. And I've had a really hard time grilling. Historically, that hasn't gone well. So this I can do. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who just want to make this seem more complicated than it is because they want you to think that they're really good at what they do. But that's okay because now you can be that person. So we're gonna add a little bit of garlic powder. I'd say probably a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half, depending on how much you like the flavor. And we're gonna quickly add our tomato halves. We're gonna stir these around for about 2 to 3 minutes, just until they get really bright and red. Don't wanna overcook them to where they're shriveled up. We just wanna get everything looking good and make it a nice accent to our chicken and shrimp. You're gonna move this around. If you'd like to use fresh garlic, that's fine too. But Lord knows after the kind of exercise we just did with the pesto, I'm tired of the garlic, so I'm gonna phone it in with the powder. No one will ever know the difference, I guarantee you. And if they do, who wants haters like that at your table? Don't invite them back. Let's put up with that. All right, so we're just gonna let this go for about a minute more. Now, after these are done, we are going to put in our shrimp. This is another one of those meals that I enjoy because you can kind of customize it to how you want. The original recipe that I modified only used shrimp. And we just kind of like the multi-meats in our dishes, such as this one. You could do steak. You could do cube steak that you could, if you had leftover, maybe you could put that in. I made this chicken maybe a couple minutes ago, so it's still warm. We're gonna add that at the end. But all I did was add a little salt and pepper because so much of the flavor is gonna be in this. And so you don't have to worry about it. You can just make it your own. But if you're like me, the first time anyway, just follow the recipe as is, and you know you can't go wrong. So we've added our shrimp. We're just gonna wait for these to turn bright pink. If you've ever cooked with shrimp, you know it doesn't take long, and they are the sea version of spinach. They will act like there are a ton of them, and before you know it, they have shrunk down to the size of shrimps. So these are the medium-large variety. Again, this was 12 ounces, 3/4 pound. So these, after they have started to cook, in my opinion, still retain a nice size for a meal. They don't get as small as, say, like a salad shrimp or something like that. So they'll still be good. Now see, this is why we didn't want our tomatoes to go for too long on their own, because they're gonna obviously continue to cook when you have the shrimp in, and we would not have wanted to overdo it because they're already shriveling up like the cast of Golden Girls, so good thing we didn't go too much longer. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my heat. I had it at a medium high when we were doing the butter and the garlic and the tomatoes and the shrimp, but at this point, we're just gonna go ahead and turn that off. And I am going to mix in our chicken so that it can get acquainted with our other fine ingredients. There we go. The shrimp are still kind of coming along. They're a little opaque, but they'll be done by the time we're done, which is coming up soon. Do you see how fast this is? This is why I like this. It's fast, but it seems fancy. It seems like you slaved away. No one's making this. When's the last time you went to somebody's house and they made this? And if they did, don't tell me. I don't want to know, because I don't like to know that I'm wrong. So I'm going to take a spoon now, because I don't know if there's shrimp guts all over that one. Just going to keep it classy, keep it clean. KIC. All right, and then finally, we are going to take our pesto that we just made, kind of mix this around a little bit. You'll see it's a beautiful green color. Very, very nice. We're gonna take about a 1/4 cup of that to mix in. Maybe a little bit more for good measure. Put this off to the side. This is what comes together to make our final product of sauteed shrimp and chicken pesto. I've already prepared some riced cauliflower from the frozen bag in a bowl. You'll see how this kind of thickens up a little bit, creates a faux sauce, even though we didn't make one. Love that even more, something we didn't do, looks like we did. We're just gonna get this really good and mixed up. I'm gonna take a bowl of my riced cauliflower. This makes 4 servings, so kind of quarter it out if you wanna have the right amount. Put a little more in here. And then for our garnish, we're gonna add some freshly grated parmesan and a couple of basil leaves just to show off. There's no other reason. There's no other reason. So here we go. And there you have it. Voila, as the French kids say. Delicious meal, makes a serving size of 4. I'll put the full recipe in the comments. If you like this one, how could you not? But if you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. And until next time, you guys stay safe. Thanks for watching.